Yes, Madam, but I would like to.
They actually brought Paul
Just start the street.
okay, Peter and
And I'll schedule a meeting with you next week.
14 days.
so I went up there for this
When down in Florida? Okay.
and so we the contract
Tomorrow I'm leaving for
This is
Montreal.
really not even going to be all that much on this list. I think that we need to discuss in the work session.
I put you in contact.
Although they probably want to discuss
That's what I want to do.
this one,
He'll come. He'll do
highway oil, and the
Boy.
fire truck.
I'll just look on with you for a moment.
The two of them are like the day. They are absolutely meticulous. He does. If you want to look at a desk,
That'll definitely bulk you up.
but there's a very awfully usually intense big yard.
Is he on task? Does he come up here and does the job?
So if
It's not like, oh, yeah, we didn't want to, I gotta go to another job.
He's scheduled their projects. He's scheduled their projects. And if you work so
Not like other contractors.
he'll be so.
Oh, well, maybe during the summer when you move.
Yeah, everybody ready?
Oh yeah.
I'd like to call this work session to order. And the first item will be actually to move into executive session for just a few moments. We'll be discussing the beginning of negotiations with the fire department and an update on the progress of the retirees task force as well. So we should be back in 10-15 minutes with your indulgence. Oh, do we have this exec session? Moved by Councillor Kretzer and seconded by Councillor Ensel. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you for keeping me.
I think he wants us to change our outline to something to the effect of
Oh, it is great. No, that's right.
In some cases,
We talked about
things like that. We have the power.
That ugly wire that hangs downstairs, the wall. It's not just, we'll find out tomorrow.
You can have our fax machine, we never use that. Well, ours sold more than last year. Oh, we don't need to. We never use it.
Say that again on call for the network board, the printing and the copying and the scanning while working.
I am not bad.
You studied it, you know, Paul and
So that's where the contract.
Did you get one? Oh, okay. No, I was gonna throw one.
3,000 gallons.
I didn't do it with me. I know, right? I was like, I don't think it is.
We're already shut.
When the water's up, you can turn it on and do other.
And it just says this is the ones that would be done. It's just, that's because that's wrong. They really didn't hit the
It's almost, I think it's messed around. He's working in town. horror story.
Running by sound. So I can't remember how many years around here. So every morning I see your guy, I see the street sweeper guy. So I keep that. And I thought it was pretty cool because one day they go by with some water. I think all there was snowball into the street, over the bridge. I thought it was really nice. Like you turn snowball that way, you also snow out of the grass. So when you got to the inside, I'm thinking, you know, if I was in environmental, I'd say, oh,
You're not the real one.
well, it's pretty cool. Well, the other day, they were fixing the lights, I was gonna go and say, hey, where's the lights? Not to do that, they were fixing them.
My kids want to tell you.
Well, that's what's my joke about the fact that when they're done, right, they roll it all in.
Wherever we live.
And when we get ours all, when our I'm gonna interview him.
I can do it.
I'm gonna interview him.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, it was just Thanksgiving Day. We celebrated.
I look in here tonight, it's like, no. Oh, God.
Yeah.
It's a green up for those items.
North side of the parking lot. We had to go into the soft lot up there. He was there when I was
You get up there and talk.
So they switched the road and put it in the truck.
Maybe it'll be fixed in version 12.1.
It's interesting because I
We'll find out if someone wants
What was their problem? I hadn't heard it.
That's nice to go right to the.
Oh, I know. Yeah, like these. I know last whatever the town, couple of the village is. Paying all the Russell, they got free. What's one of them do Jules Judy? They also do,
That's where it's running.
you can drive, it's easier to drive the borough than it is to go to Tucker Lake. mean, you like to be up in the mountains, I guess it's okay. Town is not much in, I mean. I know everything else, you do on the edge of town. I haven't seen that. It's been a while since I've been up there. I mean, I've been to Lake Placid quite a few times. Saranac Lake, but I've only been to like twice. I spent a lot of time going up to the reservation. No, there's a school up there. Yes, I remember, yeah. They got an ice rink there. We wanted to play the girls from home, the reservation. The other girls, they got a lot of fun. But the older girls, and what we heard from the parents up there, is the total. More aggressive. So even though they were supposed to do checking, they did checking. And if you weren't careful, we got back checked too. Well, it depends on the coach. We play them all the time. Any kind of problems with them. The older girls, 16, 17, yeah, that was a problem. That was always a problem. I remember there was one game, the ref blew the whistle, and the Plattsburgh girl was hitting some of the bench. The other girl pole pops it right on the ice. The father comes out to the ice, blows the gas.
Somebody said that. I didn't make that up. Maybe they sell it, but pretty short. There was a report.
Oh, we had boys games, there was issues, the parents were up there. The parents
So, yes, but I don't know if that's.
They didn't like his referee. Yeah. Well, that's what it's about. I don't know if we had him back then. Came out there.
Report that you referenced.
So he said he didn't they take his hotel, the GM, and so forth. So he had a little practical. So I kept asking him, how do you bench, you put those 19 weeks and look at that, see well, he said he tried. Now, he finally acted in.
Yeah, you did send it to me, now I remember. I should have.
You know,
That's gonna be, maybe we should talk about that.
well, you know, that's what the fact that you go up and down that ice, especially with that fly. I guess, you can't check the coach that is.
3, 2, 1, and.
All the news media is waiting for the appropriate countdown. So we want the exact yeah. So the governor gets up there, basically live, basically presses the wrong button. I'm sure that's what happened. It went off like it exploded like it really did that. So during the countdown, countdown, and he's like, what do I do here? What's this fucking so the mayor tells you to decide, you can get off oh, so we're just reminds me, I can't come to the next round. I can't come to the next round because there's oh, what I like to do is what's next? As that's happening, that would be
Well, probably maybe that most of their debts are paid off. Because, you know, they put the Camillus, for example, they pay $20 an hour now. Because the ice cream. For Malone, for that matter, the same thing.
Well, you made your own
somebody's going down.
We used to go to Highbridge a lot. I think it's New York. Highgate, yeah. Yeah, it just throws up the stands.
Catch fire.
So you want me to go line up for you then?
And the locals changed the rules. He came unglued. I forget what the rule change was. But he got into an argument with some down there. I was in a meeting. It's on video. When they started a fire, the locals amongst themselves. We wound up, we had to play a game in Skinny Atlas at 6 o'clock in the morning. Because we changed the rules. No, it was indoor.
I'm not sure. The second I started,
Well, no, this had
so,
yeah,
we're going to start.
Harry showed up, he said, yeah, well, they were rumbling and mumbling and, they were worse than their people. 5-0.
Councilman Jasper just talked about the issue of federal casting fairly consistent. You have to deal with it somehow.
Yeah, never played it.
Just because not ready.
I never thought
Yeah, we can put the other one. This will be my fourth.
How old was your brother?
it.
That must have been, I didn't really have a conversation with him.
They went once all the way out to,
That must have been hard, that's what I would have
the
said.
designer frontier out there, play Wolverines, I think they're called. Yeah, well, we played them a game around Christina for state championship. And we lost it by a 6-goal. What happened, one of the girls, cold popped, fell in the ice. Coach was yelling for her off the ice, trying to get time called. She got up and started skating around in circles and didn't know what the fuck it was. And essentially, they wound up in a power play. And that's when they scored the goal. He was trying to get her off the ice because they basically had a power play. Yeah, it was depressing. Come that close. Because it had been tied for almost the whole game. And to lose it in the last 30 seconds of the game. But they offset it the next year. They beat them. It wasn't even a close game.
What's the movie?
They really don't like you.
Isn't that like the thing, like you can't say? I can't figure it out.
So the first step here is to classify where these colonies are. So that's what this colony
Actually got up here.
You have been. Yeah, it has been. Can't do that. Oh, that's all right. Ah, that's okay. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, these guys. I know, Sylvia won't let me, and I'm trying her,
Warm welcome.
They're basically running or not.
He's working on financing, and he's pretty sure he's gonna want something similar to all financing. Break out the commercial from the residential.
Well,
I don't think that's gonna get, it's not gonna be side by side. It's gonna be front to back. I haven't seen a plan, but, he asked me. Show me your deadline. He hasn't gotten that for sure from the bank. We're over 95% sure.
one guy did it once.
It's too late.
Well, it'd be very, on the other.
If you're outside of the clinic, you might as well go somewhere else.
Is that,
Tanker of water? They say tanker? I don't know.
What's that? Back to your shoe.
Thank you, we'll be here all week.
Welcoming.
Yeah, you know, right here.
Going to resume. As you know, in executive session, we discussed the issue of beginning negotiations with the firefighters and also the subject of litigation with retirees, and there's just discussion items only, no action was taken. Let's complete our work session. You've all had a chance to take a look at the agenda. Is there anything that you wanted some extended discussion on at this point?
I certainly want to be able to talk about the request for funds for the TNR.
Mm-hmm. Would you like to do it now, or would you like to do it later on in initial consideration?
Whenever is good for council.
Any preferences?
Do it in regular session.
Okay.
And also, I would like to discuss the demolition of the highway oil building in future usage.
Okay. Would you like to discuss that now or regular session?
We can.
Okay.
I'm just wondering, once the bidding has been completed, is there a timeline on completion and when it would get done? I know it's a frost issue and all that, but
It's, well, there's a few things procedurally we'll have to go through first. One is, well, we'll want to wait until we have the grant agreement signed and in place, first and foremost. I believe we did a sufficient investigation of lead and asbestos materials in there. And we'll have to also prepare a request for proposals that includes us addressing abatement needs, and then put it out, probably give contractors a few weeks to put together their price quotes, get it back, and then I'll bring it here. So it'll be probably, depending when we get the contract, the funding agreement in place, it'll probably be at least several weeks before we can actually move forward.
okay. And then the plan then is, are we going to pave it, or what are we going to do with it? Is that, have we thought that far out? Or?
That's going to be part of what we do in the DRI. That's one of the most important properties in the DRI. So I think we'll probably know in about 2 or 3 months what seems to be likely to emerge, but we won't know fully right away, because what I think is going to happen with the DRI is for that property, we're going to ask for a request for information on how various developers may want to do various things in that block. So depending on where they want to position their buildings, et cetera, probably wouldn't be smart for us to spend a lot more money on the highway oil and then have to essentially redo that under a new landscaping plan.
Okay, well, where I'm going with this is, would it get utilized this year for anything?
Did you have any particular uses in mind?
Yes. those who can't get into the farmer's market, if the city could lease out or vend out that piece of property.
Wow,
Since it's not a park.
good for you,
um,
Dale.
It's, this park alienation. I don't believe Downtown Rising is
No.
reappearing.
Nobody's
I've
hurt?
had discussions, there would be quite a interest, they would provide their own shelter and all, but I just didn't know.
That's kind of an interesting idea, given that the selection of the stalls and the vendors is based on a metric, right? And so this would now put in place right next door without following that metric.
It'd be disruptive.
Well,
I'm not saying
We
this
ha-
is a bad idea, I'm just
Yeah.
but
saying,
may I interject, we have not contracted with the Plattsburgh Farmers Market yet.
Right.
So that might be a negotiable item.
It's a good idea.
Because their concern has always been, well, we have a waiting list and we already have all of our spaces, spoken for. And so that has habitually left a number of vendors not able to sell their goods.
Right.
So, I mean, it's worthwhile to investigate this as a possibility as well as consider how we might negotiate with the Plattsburgh Farmers Market since that's not yet decided.
Because there has even been the offer to restrict, if they were to become part of the market, what they would sell, to avoid
Yeah.
to avoid the flavor of competition.
Duplication, yeah.
So if they were able to operate there, they could operate without restricting themselves to what they would sell.
Right.
And you may
Offering a
also.
little leverage, perhaps.
You may also have interest from other vendors who
Yes.
have other different types of
Yes,
goods that they're selling that may even attract even more people down.
My discussion today was that there would probably be 6, and more than willing to pay a vendor's fee.
Well,
You're on
But-
that committee, you two are meeting with the farmers?
we've
We
met.
have met.
We
But is it gonna
met.
be ongoing meetings with them?
Well,
Well, there isn't, because there's only one, they've offered to do it again. I mean, it's
Yeah.
not a pick and choose who's gonna
Right.
run the farmer's market. I think last year we had one other person interested, and that, been the only interest we'd had in a while. So it's kind of, they have 35 vendors, they have their 35 vendors, so it's kind of set to go, which is good. They were hoping to have kind of an anchor, which is usually a restaurant, an owner present.
I thought you said
Uh,
acre, not
no.
anchor.
Anchor, like an
Yeah.
anchor store.
Yeah.
They've had success with that, so they have membership, some of the proposed vendors have memberships that draw in a certain number of people that would probably compensate for a small eating establishment there, so I was just putting that out there if that was a potential, because it wouldn't be anything permanent there.
Right.
And if they were found to be in the way, we could have them leave.
would we be required to pave that area?
I don't know.
Well, it's currently
I-
Do you
kind
know
of
what it would
covered
look
over
like
with
once the
dirt.
demolition was done?
Yeah, there's parking there now.
Yeah.
Well, we could certainly, we could put down a gravel surface, we could roof roll it, we could pave it if you want. We can do
Well-
whatever.
Yeah, I don't know if it would hold, because
We
it would be
maintain
setting
that
up,
section
tearing
of
down.
parking lot, we
setting
got
up.
the tanks out, remember? So we maintain that section of parking lot. When we take the building down, we will maintain
Okay.
that section.
But do you think
Well-
it's on a level concrete pad at this point that would be left?
There's curbs that have to be dealt with. And there's a grade, there's an elevation issue.
Oh, yeah, yeah, of course.
So we will, once the building's down, we'll know, we get a better handle on what we can do with it.
We could certainly leave it with a surface that is workable. It might be somewhat limited by, there is a bit of a grade difference that goes down to the lot in the back of it. But we could do whatever, more or less whatever we want. Millions is a great suggestion.
And
Well-
one of the vendors was there originally that I've talked to. I mean, it was paved, but they did operate out of a cart, I think.
A
at that
truck, yeah,
location.
a panel truck. Well, here, I've got a suggestion, Dale. Why don't you and I put our heads together and lay out the information for everybody and all the things you're thinking of and all of the considerations in terms of the Plattsburgh Farmers Market and come up with some kind of proposal.
It would be a nice connection because Mr. Ward participated from the co-op to that location to the end of the parking lot.
Right,
Good idea, if you'd be willing to do that, that'd be helpful.
All right.
thank you.
Thank you.
I have two questions. The fuel tanks were removed from there previously, is that correct? So we don't have to worry about those. And the other thing is, if this costs less than $54,000, do we give the money back to the state?
Yes, I believe so. The grant covers 90% of the cost of removal. So if it comes in under, they would just, I think, move the mark a little proportionally to what we.
And our portion would become less also?
Correct, yeah. So at this point, it looks like, $6,000 on the city's end and then 54 based on some quotes that we.
Right. Okay.
Would that grant, I'm sorry, would that grant money cover any type of fill or any type of, or is it just taking it down and that's it?
It was taking it down and leaving it so that it could be developed, but we didn't specify what that meant. We said that, we weren't going to leave it unsafe.
Because you wouldn't want it eroding into the river.
Right, washing
So
into the river.
You wouldn't want it eroding into the river.
Right, and in anticipation of the DRI, we were.
Right.
We were making it developable.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Any other questions? Well, let's call the meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Reed?
Present.
Counselor Armstrong?
Here.
Counselor Kelly?
Here.
Counselor Dowdle?
Here.
Counselor Ensel?
Here.
Counselor Casper?
Here.
Counselor Kreutzer?
Here.
Resolved that the minutes of the regular meeting of the Common Council held on January 26, 2017 are approved and placed on file among the public records of the city clerk's office.
Moved by Counselor Armstrong, seconded by Counselor Kreutzer. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolved that the payrolls of the various departments of the city of Plattsburgh for the week ending February 1st, 2017 in the amount of $567,087.69 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and the city clerk are hereby empowered and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
Moved by Counselor Kelly, seconded by Counselor Dowdle. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Resolved that the reports as listed are hereby ordered, received, and placed on file among the public records of the city clerk's office.
Moved by Counselor Kelly, seconded by Counselor Ensel. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed.
Resolved that the bills allotted by the Common Council for the week ending February 3rd, 2017 in the amount of $733,144.99 are authorized and allowed, and the mayor and city clerk are hereby authorized and directed to sign warrants drawn on the city chamberlain for the payment thereof.
Moved by Counselor Armstrong, seconded by Counselor Dowdle. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passed. This is the part of the agenda where any members of the public can please come up and address the council. This part of the agenda, we specify only items relating to the agenda. There'll be another public comment at the end of the meeting for any items at all concerned. Anybody?
I'm just handing you the friend.
Okay, seeing none. Other items?
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the Common Council approves MLD to write off unpaid final bills from October 1st, 2015 to October 31st, 2015 in the total amount of $2,677.02. Percentage of write-offs for this period is 0.26%.
Moved by Counselor Kelly, seconded by Counselor Dowdle. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Dowdle?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor Casper?
Yes.
Counselor Kreutzer?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the Common Council approves a proposal from BNL for Aki landfill post-closure monitoring be approved for a total lump sum of $33,000, and that the mayor be authorized to execute this agreement.
Moved by Counselor Kelly, seconded by Counselor Kreutzer. Discussion? Roll call?
Wait,
Counselor
what,
I have some discussion, if you don't mind. Let's see, last week we passed a resolution to standardize our spending resolutions, and I'm happy to report that Mr. Ruff agreed to do that this week. He was our first test case and graciously agreed to do it. But I spoke with John a little bit during, or before the meeting, and he has some additional suggestions here he'd like to make on this expense, if you don't mind, John.
Councilor Kelly had sent out an email earlier this morning, and one of the questions, or the question was whether or not there were quotas obtained. B&L was procured 6 or 7 years ago under a professional services procurement. They went through a competitive process, and they were ranked with other firms, turned out to be the highest ranked firm. We negotiated the cost. And ever since then, they've been our consultant on board with this, and their price has come down from, I think, $44,000 to $33,000. It's been steady the last few years. Agreement, and instead of having it be lump sum, I'll advise them it's going to be time and materials. They'll send us, exactly the number of hours they spent and how much money they spent on lab costs, and that's all we'll get billed for. They've also called and advised us that they feel the last 5 years' worth of work they've done, the database they've assembled, would make a pretty compelling case to request a reduction in monitoring. So I'll work with them on making that request over the next month or so, and hopefully for 2017, maybe we won't have to do quite as much sampling, but we'll at least set the stage for next year. And then over and above that, what we can do is also get with B&L on the lab that they're using and make sure they have the most competitive lab costs. So we'll do that for this year to make sure we get the most competitive price possible. We'll make it clear that we're scrutinizing costs even more so than we have in the past. And then later this year, I'll draft up an RFP to go out for the same process we went through 5 to 6 years ago. We'll let them compete again against other folks, maybe some other people have some other ideas. And going into 2018, we'll make sure that we have the best service we can get at the most affordable cost.
Great.
So
Thank you,
that
John.
makes sense, you're comfortable with that? That's what I'll do.
So how do,
I do have one
You
additional
could just leave it
question.
the way it is, and I'll commit to doing those things I talked about.
This comes out of the general fund.
Correct.
Why not water sewer?
Because it's the old Akey landfill, which is solid waste services. and
Has
this
nothing to do with
doesn't
water
have
and
anything to
sewer.
do with water, so,
Okay.
correct, yeah.
Okay, thank you,
Correct.
thank you.
Any further questions? Good work, thank you. Appreciate it.
Suggestion.
good job.
Yeah, there.
Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Dowdle?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor Casper?
Yes.
Counselor Kretzer?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the Common Council approves change order number 1 to Margaret Street Pump Station reconstruction, decreasing the final contract cost by $21,331.31. The project is funded by Capital Project H 8130.59.
Moved by Counselor Kretzer, seconded by Counselor Armstrong. Discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Dowdle?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor Casper?
Yes.
Counselor Kretzer?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the Common Council approves the facade rehabilitation program loan application submitted by the North Country Cooperative Corporation for the total amount of $15,000. The facade loan will be used for the removal and replacement of the main floor windows of the NCFC building located at 25 Bridge Street, Plattsburgh.
Moved by Counselor Kretzer, seconded by Counselor Kelly. Roll call.
Counselor Armstrong?
I'm sorry,
Yes.
discussion, I'm sorry. Discussion?
Just that this is coming out of the grant pool money, not the actual, similar to what the loan that we approved.
Right, this
Couple
isn't a
weeks ago.
general fund item, this
General
is the
fund item.
revolving fund. Correct.
And it's a loan, correct?
Correct.
Mhm.
They pay it back.
Further discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Dowdle?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor Casper?
Yes.
Counselor Kretzer?
Yes.
Whereas the
I'd like to
city
make a
of
motion
Plattsburgh-
to waive the reading and move the resolution. Got
Would
that
you,
one.
with your indulgence, could you just read the first
Oh, sure.
sentence there so people know what we're talking about?
Whereas the city of Plattsburgh applied to the Restore New York grant program for funding for the demolition of the former Highway Oil building located at 40 Bridge Street, Plattsburgh, New York.
That's fine, I think. Just want to make sure everybody saw it in the agenda here. Okay, so we have a move by Counselor Kretzer, second by Counselor Casper, and that's, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Discussion. Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Dowdle?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor Casper?
Yes.
Counselor Kretzer?
Yes.
Resolved in accordance with the request, therefore the common council approves that the mayor is authorized to sign contract with Ferrara Fire Apparatus Inc. for pumper fire truck for a price of $594,339. Funding is available through Capital Project 2017 Public Service Equipment.
Moved by Counselor Kretzer, seconded by Counselor Dowdle. Discussion.
I just have one question for Mr. Marks. What does this add to the debt service?
I haven't calculated that, but it's gonna be a 15-year asset. So if you divide that number by 15 years, that's the principal. So we'll call it 600. Divided by 15, you're gonna have 40,000 a year plus interest, and say interest at 3%. So it'll be 600,000 times 3% over the life.
You should be able to do that in your head.
Call it 49 to 50,000 a year.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Marks.
Not what press is here.
We had some discussion with the chief before the meeting, and he indicates that the piece of equipment that is being replaced by this new purchase is in very bad shape and has actually failed to operate at times when it's needed. So we've had to borrow equipment from other municipalities, town of Plattsburgh, I think. So even though it's a very large expense, we're also spending about $20,000 a year on maintenance and repairs on the thing.
Yeah.
So considering the fact that it has to do with fire safety and that we're already spending a large sum on repairs, I'm in favor of this.
And also, as part of that conversation, the chief also indicated that the water capacity is actually doubled from 500 gallons to 1,000 gallons, which makes it actually even more attractive come resale value and so on.
We could also ask him to add, that we've got the trade-in, if you want to speak on that, the trade-in, the price, kind of a customer loyalty program, because we got the forward truck from them. And,
It was, the bid price, which is a national bid price, like a state contract, came in at $652,000. I don't know the exact number, but they keep giving us more and more discounts. They're giving us 2016 prices on the 2017, which is saving us almost $19,000 right off the top right there. You're gonna have, they're giving us a customer loyalty of $9,000 concession. So
Wow.
God, we're getting a very expensive fire truck at under what we wanted to pay for.
We did pay, what, 900,000 for them?
Right.
Area.
Well, yes, and it's worked out well for them because there's other services that purchased off of that, so if we keep getting the discounts, that's great.
Good work.
and the addition,
72.
970.
Yeah,
the Bay Edition, is that going to come into play now as well?
yes, that's
Okay.
all part of it, and that's, we're working on that, we have it right now.
Okay.
That was all part of the capital project.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Any further questions? Seeing none, roll call.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Dowdle?
Yes.
Counselor Ensel?
Yes.
Counselor Casper?
Right back at you.
Counselor Kretzer?
Yes.
No travel requests at this time. We have one resolution for initial consideration. You can read this request from Councilor Casper regarding the city's involvement in feral cat control. Would you like to discuss this item with us for a moment?
Yes, a couple of comments. One is just a reminder that we passed a resolution last fall to authorize this nonprofit to conduct trap neuter release in the city of Plattsburgh. So this is really how we're going to think about supporting that. And looking at this, you'll see that there was a change made. I initially had $5,000 for the contract from that line. Because looking at that line and seeing for 3 years that was plenty of unexpended funds in that line. And Mr. Marks pointed out to me that in other years, that money was expended, and that there is a concern by police that if they have a couple of injured dogs, that could exceed the money that's there. So the comment I want to make about that, I mean, if we can get at least $1,500 into that, that would be great. But and you've heard me say this before, so I apologize for constantly beating this drum. If we have $10,000 set aside for veterinary services that can be eaten up by 3 or 4 dogs in care, we have how many cat colonies? We've got this wonderful report. 4 cat colonies.
20 or more.
The impact of which is not just an impact on the animals. And you guys all know that I'm an amazing animal lover, at least for furry things. So I don't want this to be a cat-dog fight. This is not, cats on one side, dogs on the other, dog people on the other. And I very much appreciate that the city wants to take care of injured dogs. But when you look at what the impact is on the city for feral cat colonies, not only is there an issue of the quality of life for those animals, but also the impact on the rest of the city in terms of people feeding them. And, we can go back to last week's resolution about animal control and the skunks. So, I did not ask for funds to be taken out to be put into this during the budget session because everything was so tight and so painful. But having seen that there was some money here in this line that was already regarding animal control, I felt that there ought to be some kind of support for this. Again, not trying to take away from the animals. And it bothers me that we have an expectation that volunteers have to donate money in order to control this cat population, and yet the city is paying for the dogs to go to the vets. So, I would say that if we can't find money, first of all, we need to see that there's success carried out by this. And we have, in the previous resolution we passed in the fall, there was a promise of reports. We're already getting reports, even though we haven't funded anything. But if we see that there is some success, positive impact on the community, in the fall, if we can't find other money to help fund what we have authorized these volunteers to do, then I am going to make a request that $10,000 budget for veterinary services is cut in half. That $5,000 is in fact put into this program. And if dogs are injured and need to go to the vets and there's not money, well then I think it's fair then to ask volunteers to donate money to help defray those costs. I think in terms of simple impact, where is the money going? What does the money do for the community? Then we absolutely must support this nonprofit and the fantastic people who do so much work on behalf of the animals, but on behalf of all of us too. So with that, I'll try to answer any questions, and we have the folks who are doing this here to be able to answer questions.
Certainly, I've had some issues in the past prior to being on the council with feral cats and really the problems that they create within a neighborhood. A number of different problems, some that I've dealt with firsthand. And certainly, I think my ward is certainly one that has a considerable number of feral cats.
And just as a comment there, cats like skunks don't abide by words.
No, I'm not.
So
I'm not saying
your feral cat colonies, those cats are coming into my yard.
Sure. No, I totally. I'm not disputing that at all. I'm just, I know what I've been told by my constituents as well, and I am totally in support of this. I think it's a wonderful idea, and anything that we can do to help quell the problem and the situation, I would certainly be in favor of.
Councilor Kelly.
Did I understand you to say that you will propose that we spend $1,500 this year, but if it goes well, then we'll up that to $5,000 next year.
That's what I would like to ask.
Okay. I think that's a great way to do it, you know, so let's see how it works. And I also like the fact that the organization gave us statistics, and pretty impressive statistics, by the way.
Thank you. And I will add too, I think that we've all seen that the community is very much in support of this, with the exception of one person whose name I won't mention, who wants to kill all the feral cats, who doesn't live in the city of Plattsburgh. But there have been numerous letters to the editor and paper itself, editorial. People see this as a problem, and people generally have a care for these feral animals, and if they don't have a care for what's happening because of them. So I think the community supports it, and I think that since we all have an agreement, then let's try and let's let folks do what they know to do.
The most compelling argument you made, as far as I'm concerned, is the impact that this will have on our community compared to the money that we have typically devoted to the care of injured dogs. I mean, when you suggest that we have all these volunteers who are doing such wonderful work to control these populations in a humane way, and that similarly other kinds of volunteers might feel compelled to help dogs who are injured, you know, so I think in terms of the impact on the community, this has great value, even greater value. And thanks for bringing that argument up, Becky.
My pleasure.
I might even recommend too that come June or July, we can monitor how the remaining budget is being spent, and if it seems like we're on pace to not hit that $5,000 mark with the other side of the budget, reallocate then.
That would be great. I will remember.
I bet you will.
Just so there's no misunderstanding, when I sent you the information, I didn't specify it was dog or cats, it's just veterinary services.
Right.
And they're being used for both tradition.
Injured animals, right?
Injured animals.
Injured animals. So it's not just dogs versus cats.
Although in the past, I think we've seen reports where it was primarily canines. That's what I recall from previous years.
If you recall the Northern Puppies case, that was, there was a lot of cats involved in that one. What animals that need care go to the vet's office, and that's what the money's used for. We're not picking out.
You're not picking on
ignoring
cats.
But it's not solely injured animals.
It's
say you go
neglected.
into a home and you take out multiple
Okay.
Injured or sick, neglected.
neglected.
Yeah.
That's where it goes. So, I mean, one place could cost you thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
That's happened.
Yes, it has.
Not to mention the health concerns too.
Right.
Any further questions? We'll expect to see this on the agenda again next week.
Yep, we'll work out the contract.
Thank you.
Great work. Thank you.
This is the portion of the meeting where we talk about new business. I'd also at this time like to entertain any council reports, and I'll offer a little short update of the items that we're working on in my office each week as well. I'll begin by asking if there is any new business for this council. Mr. Kelly.
I had a call today from a gentleman who lives on Monty Street, and he has an abandoned property next door to his house. And he's done a little homework, and he's determined that the house is owned by a bank, and they're doing an okay job of taking care of it, but there's a tree in the back that's in need of trimming, and it's affecting 4 other properties, he says. So every property around this house is having trouble with this tree. And he asked me what the city can do about it, and I had to answer, I don't know. I know that we've had some discussion about zombie properties in the past, but I don't know how to get back to this gentleman and say, what can we do for him? And I was hoping maybe somebody in one of our department heads could tell me what we can do.
We could, do you know what's the address on Monty Street?
The house that's the issue is 20 Monty Street?
The first thing I would do is contact the property owner. Normally, it's a private issue between two private property owners. You sit, talk to your neighbor and say, hey, your tree's a problem, maintain it. And they'll do that. Since it's abandoned, I can try to contact the bank and let them know, or they could, the neighbor can try to do that himself. But if it's on private property, then it's the responsibility of the property owner.
Okay, maybe right after the meeting, I can give you some more details, Kevin.
Would this come under the, where the hedge law comes in? I mean, if I had a tree in my backyard and the neighbors were disturbed, I don't think I have to do anything about it, do I? The
Well,
neighbors can trim, it's sort of like my hedge
Well, the
encroaching.
hedge law is specifically geared towards when hedges or trees or shrubs that are on private property are somehow disrupting the public way,
Right.
public sidewalk.
Right.
So if it's overhanging from your neighbor's backyard into your backyard, usually the best way is just a civil way, the neighborly way, say, hey, you know, your tree is an issue for me, can you please cut it and resolve it that way? Is usually the best way to handle it.
Right.
Anything else?
I was contacted by a resident, and it's actually an issue with both Councilman Kretzer and Dowdell's wards concerning the traffic lights possibly on the corner of Beekman and Broad with where there are changing lanes for left-hand turns, but yet there's no arrow for directional arrow to change in the backdrop. If there's anything, I guess they had looked into it before, and there was a anticipated cost of $100,000 to install directional lights for.
No, not really. But, I don't know, Kevin, was there a traffic study done there at one time?
It's left.
Yeah, the left-hand, it'd be the left-hand turns on Broad.
From Broad on.
From Broad onto
Right.
Beekman and into Kehoe at the college.
Oh, so I thought you were gonna say the eastbound Broad that wants to turn left onto Beekman, but you're talking about. the
That's
other
what
way.
I was thinking too.
Both,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
it's both.
Right,
Turn left to
Both directions.
Yeah, what Bill's referred to, normally to, the decision as to whether or not a left turn lane should receive a left turn arrow is done through a traffic study and figure out how much delay, how many turning movements you're getting at peak hours, and those types of things, and to decide whether or not, to put one in. I know I've been there, I can certainly understand the concern, I've been there and waited to make that left-hand turn, and you do have to wait sometimes. One has never been done to my knowledge, so that's usually the first step, and the second step is the actual apparatus, which Bill could do with it. We're not sure what the
You know,
cost
and
is.
it's compounded by the students walking.
Yeah, that was another thing, because,
Yeah.
the way that intersection is set up, when they push the button, assuming they wait for the light to change, it shuts down the whole intersection
Right.
Yeah.
for them to cross.
Right.
Right.
Though sometimes.
In the jaywalking.
Yeah, if there's a break, they all get there, and then the light changes, and all the drivers are sitting there with nobody crossing in front of them.
Right.
That's why most people, I think, know that if you're heading eastbound and you want to go north, you turn on Draper.
Draper. Right.
To avoid
But
that
I don't know,
intersection.
is that something, Kevin, you said that there hasn't been a traffic study in a while there? Is
Not
that?
to my knowledge.
No, because when you put those in, it will slow down the traffic at that intersection, and then you get the irate drivers. So you get them from both sides. But I guess, is that council asking for a,
I guess I'd like to, just to kind of get the information, so at least I could ask, at least I could respond to the inquiry.
You know, I think it's fair too, because it is an accident waiting to happen, because people know that they're gonna have to gun it
To get through the
across.
intersection.
And when you do have so many students walking, I mean, it really, something,
I actually told the person, try to leave Kehoe at about 4:35 and see how long you wait with the traffic. But I'd appreciate it if you could get some information so I could pass it along.
yeah, we have to Kevin then to look at the situation and then make the recommendation.
if you did a traffic study, would it just be of that intersection? Because I remember last year, we were talking about the number of accidents, students being hit farther down Broad Street, remember? We talked about that.
At the Y.
At
the
William
Y.
Street.
Or Williams, just below the Y.
Williams.
yes.
That whole stretch between College Suites and there's been a number of
Well, a lot of
accidents.
them jaywalk across there.
I know, that's,
There is a
And
question.
I know there's-
That's how they get hit.
There's lanes, okay, up where they switches off the route, you got traffic lights there. Well, they get spoiled with the idea that they can step into the crosswalk and the traffic will stop. But if I'm correct, if I'm wrong, where there's a traffic light there, they're supposed to obey the traffic light.
Right.
But they don't. I had one the other night, he just strolled out between cars right in front of me.
Yeah.
I just barely missed him.
And they're coming from parked cars on the side further
Oh, yeah,
down, so
and-
nobody sees them.
And it's worse at night.
At dusk- at
So a lot
dusk
of
it's
times they're
really
wearing dark
difficult.
clothes, and then
Yeah.
you don't see them till the last second.
Yeah.
At dusk, when you have lights coming in the opposite direction, it's very difficult
Where
to
did we
see.
go with that conversation?
Well,
I don't
you know, the
remember.
funny thing is, I didn't see it this year, but last year, I think it was the college that did it, had notes down, look left and right before you
Oh, yeah.
cross the street.
Well, yeah, look,
Stop,
look,
stop, look and
and
wait.
wait.
Yeah.
But here's the thing also, I don't think, just to be fair, there's pedestrian awareness generally. I mean, there we have what should really be a school zone, you know, where people are going 20 miles an hour, not
Yeah.
35 or above. And just speaking of that crosswalk right at William, I've seen kids waiting and waiting and waiting. Nobody's looking at the corners to see whether or not there's someone there. So I think it really is a two-way street regarding the problem.
So to speak.
Now, to put in a full traffic light system, that's where the $100,000 fits in.
I'm sorry,
When you're putting a whole new, brand new traffic light, it's like say Williams, you decide you want to put a traffic light there, that's about $100,000 easily.
Well,
Yeah, I
but I
think
know
this-
that there is a way to activate the lit pedestrian signs right there by the Newman Center. If
Those don't,
They-
those students hit the button.
they don't hit them, they don't use them.
They don't use them, but, okay, they don't use
They
them.
don't use them.
Well, and you know what GP does, I don't know if they got them on timers and stuff, but they're flashing at various times, I've seen all the time. Because I think they had the same problem with their workers, the one up there on Marvin Street,
Right.
so it's always flashing. Now, I don't know how, since those things are on solar batteries of solar, sunlight, I don't know how long they last when they're continuously running. But I would think probably at nighttime would probably be a better deal if they were running at night.
Right.
Or at least running from maybe twilight to maybe 10 or 11 o'clock at night.
Would you all like to form a committee on this?
I got a feeling, I'll be honest.
It's not a bad idea for some of us to talk, you know, Peter and I, we should talk about it. This is
Yeah.
our
Good
workplace.
idea.
We walk across the street, you know.
But just one little last question, I know we are on a big, long tangent here, but what kinds of requirements does the state put into effect regarding reducing the sorry.
Speed limit?
The speed limit. So it doesn't qualify as a school zone, but why shouldn't it?
College is not a school, according to the definition
Yeah.
in the V&T law.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so there's no other way, because of those guidelines, to reduce the speed there.
It's 20
Could we enforce our own speed limit? Set our own speed limit?
No, city speed limits are 30 miles per hour according to the state law.
Because this question came up down around the YMCA. I think last year there was a request to reduce that. It wasn't considered a school zone.
But just to add on there, that used to be a 20-mile zone when St. John's was there. When the
Right,
school closed, the speed limit was raised back up.
yeah. I'm not volunteering for this.
I mean, I agree with Becky. Becky and I can certainly
Sure.
talk about it.
Appreciate it. Any other new business?
They did offer a free donut for those who
To
use the
announce
crosswalks.
that we will have a budget meeting immediately following the city council meeting next Thursday, the 9th of February. I've invited Captain Branch and Chief Lawless to come talk to us about their two departments. We'll let them go first, so 5 minutes each, so you don't have to hang around too long. But I'll send an agenda to all of you, a tentative agenda, and we'll ask you to make additions or changes as you like. And I'd also like to ask Mr. Marks to come talk to us about where we stand year to date in our budget, if you don't mind, sir. And that's pretty much it for the agenda for next week. But please take a look at it when you receive it. If you want to make any additions or changes to it, you're most welcome.
And perhaps, Ms. Marks, could you describe to us some of the templates we can add into Munis to better track and give us an idea of what we might be able to create for reporting?
Oh, do you mind coming to the podium, Mr. Marks?
It'll depend on what you want to see for reporting, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
It's a good start.
I'm sorry.
If you were going to speak at length, I was going to suggest you come to the podium. Okay.
Don't have that much to say.
All right.
Any other new business? I'd like to thank the public. We're in the process of finding members for our planning, zoning, and library boards. Some of you volunteered to be members of various boards. It's an ongoing thing, so anybody who's interested in getting involved in some of these committees, please feel free. The Strategic Planning Committee also started meeting this week, and that's very exciting. And I know they'll be looking for additional members as they kind of develop their mandate and grow. I think you'll be hearing a lot of exciting things from them. We just finished meeting with the Retirees Task Force. That's another great group of people that are really involved in helping us decide that issue. I would, some of the things I'm working on, I'll report, not this week, but perhaps in the next couple of weeks. Please come on February 11th, that's a Saturday, for the final public meeting for the DRI, the Downtown Revitalization Initiative, the $10 million investment. I think you'll see some really thrilling ideas, and they're getting to the point where they're ready to start proposing them to the state. So we really need your input. I'm going to also have something to report on the NYSEG reclamation project, the progress of it in our river. So I think that'll be quite interesting as well. I'm looking forward to that meeting. And I'd like to ask the committee that looked at snow removal on sidewalks last year to reconstitute and have some discussions. And the reason is we've been very lucky with snow this year, but we could be hit by a big snowstorm at any time. Obviously, in case you don't understand how the citation system works, is it's primarily the responsibility of the code enforcement office when they're available to cite people who haven't adequately maintained their own sidewalks in front of their place. But code enforcement is an 8 to 4 Monday through Friday operation. Unfortunately, snowstorms don't necessarily fit into that cycle. When they're not able to do citations, it then falls upon the police department, and we want to make sure we're using the police resources very wisely as well. What I've asked both departments to do is to start producing a list of more problematic properties, and we're going to try and look at and deal with the worst properties first, because we recognize with 65 miles of roads and even more miles of sidewalks, it's very difficult to get to all of them all the time. So we're kind of reworking this, and if the sidewalk committee that looked at this issue has any advice, I'd really appreciate the guidance. So far we've been very lucky, but obviously you have the responsibility to take care of your own sidewalks, and we want to figure out a way to do that in the most effective use of your resources and ours as well. Anything to add, Councilor Armstrong? I know you're close to this issue.
When we did discuss this, I really appreciated the conversation, and we had all kinds of stakeholders involved with the building inspector's office, police department, human resources, throw in whoever else was there that I've forgotten. But it was a very productive discussion. I appreciated the fact that it was held. But one of the aspects that I think has been forgotten in the recommendation of the Sidewalk Committee is the idea that we need to communicate better with the public what the expectations are and what the law actually states. Mm-hmm. So the mayor agreed to talk to me about how we might do that, and that between better communication and elevating the sense of citizen responsibility and better enforcement, maybe we'll have better, safer sidewalks during the winter, which is the ultimate objective.
Thank you. Any further new business or liaison reports or anything?
I just ask, when there is a complaint about a sidewalk, it's called into the building inspector's office or to the police department?
It depends on the hours.
Right.
Normally would be called into the code enforcement office, and I've asked them to start creating a running list and then go inspect the most problematic properties. But to figure out a way to share that with the police department as well, so they can access and add to that same list, so we can really concentrate our efforts on the most problematic places first. And we can also see how many times people have either been observed or complaints or observed by the police that this is a problem.
So if someone calls in on Saturday, they can't get here, they call the police department. What does the police department say? You need to call the building inspector's office?
No.
Or how is that handled?
No, I would expect we would go look at the problem. I will make contact with the property owner and tell them what the problem is, document that, and forward that to the building inspector's office.
Okay. All right.
Dale, do you want to be on the snow removal committee?
Sure.
Okay.
If there's no other comments, this is the part of the meeting where we ask the public to again come up and speak to the council. At this time, you can speak to any agenda items relevant, not just the items that have been on, any item, pardon me, relevant, not just the agenda items. Please. Jesse, since the last time you've been here, we have these little cute little timers here that go for 5 minutes, just to let you know if I'm pointing at a timer, that's why.
We didn't get them because of you. I just wanted to take that away from you.
I'll reset it.
I had two things. I'm here as president of Friends of Saranac River Trail, and we wrapped up 2016, I think on Tuesday, in this very room, and I just want to, it was a very good meeting. We had about 20 people here. We had Kevin spoke about some of the things that have happened with the trail, 2 new bridges, which are going to be phenomenal for downtown. And Jeff Olson from Alta Planning, who was one of the designers of the original trail, joined us from Albany via Skype because he had a meeting down there. And both Kevin and Jeff talked about how these trails have grown sort of organically from little things, and we're putting them together. Jeff's comment, first of all, Kevin brought that up, then Jeff came on and talked about the New York State Trail, which is in the budget now. I think it's $53 million in the proposed budget, which will be 750 miles, I think, from Albany to Buffalo, mostly along the Erie Canal, from New York City up to Albany through the Hudson River Valley Greenway, and then from Albany north to Plattsburgh. So we're part
all the way
of
to the border eventually, right?
I'm sorry?
All the way up to the border.
And into Quebec. I think one of the things we have to learn and talk about the Saranac River Trail, that as we're moving forward, is that it provides connectivity to Buffalo and New York City. I mean, people can jump, will be able to jump on a bicycle in Battery Park, they can look at the Statue of Liberty and pedal away and come to a common council meeting. Which is about as wonderful as things get. And I wanted to thank,
that's quite a carrot to dangle.
Kevin.
Are you asking for money?
I'm here.
Dripping sarcasm.
I'm here to actually, if you don't mind, thank Kevin, Adam, and Brian for making all of that possible, for speaking and getting the Skype going, which was like a charm. So thank you very much. And you may remember last September 18th, I was here and talked about a grant we were applying for, and we asked the city council to pass a resolution of support, and you did, and we got the grant. It's for Plattsburgh Power. I had some handouts, I have some new ones now. We're meeting actually tomorrow with the student interns to kick it off. The app, that's the cornerstone of this, went into the App Store last week. And we're going to be expanding it more. I have some flyers here if anyone wants.
Great.
So that's what's going on, and it's sort of exciting. And, That's what I.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jesse.
You know, you got some sand left over here if you want to.
I don't think I want to use it. Save it.
We'll credit it for you.
Yeah, right. Put it in the bank.
Any other public comments on
Can roll
any
them
issues
over.
at this time? Please.
Hi, my name is Rebecca King, live at 19 Monty Street in the city. I'm also one of the owners of Beagles Nest Veterinary Hospital. I wanted to just have some concerns aired in regard to the feral cat issue. Now, I've worked with cats for 20 years. I love cats. Both of my cats are from feral mothers. They're indoor-only kitties. I think that I applaud the people who are trying to fix the problem in the city. I just wasn't sure that everyone here was aware of some of the pitfalls that come along with trap neuter release programs. The jury is still out in the veterinary community about whether they actually work. The ones that do work are very closely regulated, and there are some guidelines that the AVMA sets out to try to make sure that the cats are contained, and also the public health issues. I mean, you've already talked about rabies and attracting vector animals, but there are also other things like roundworm infections, toxoplasmosis. There's a lot of potential human health risks if the colonies aren't properly managed, or if there's if they're not doing what the colonies aren't behaving like they should be. So I didn't know. I know that you were talking about a contract. I didn't know whether it would make sense to do something more like a donation, so the city wouldn't have the liability that goes along with that close a contact with a group like this until they knew what was going on, how it was working, whether there were going to be a lot of people who were going to be reporting, you know, an increase in the raccoon population because of the way things are managed, or, you know, not. As a city resident, knowing how, you know, my taxes are spent, and making sure that that, you know, my neighbors are protected, I'm protected, I just think it might be a good idea for the council to get some really good information on how these things work and what the pitfalls can be as far as the location in the city. There are some places like Fort Myer in Lee County, Florida, where they just have a horrendous problem with the trap neuter colony that they've got down there. It's just a huge public health nightmare. And I'm concerned that what happens in Plattsburgh happens on the good side of trap neuter release and not on the public health disaster side of it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other public comments? Seeing none, may I entertain a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Moved by Councilor Thompson, second by Councilor Ansel. Roll call.
Counselor Armstrong?
Yes.
Counselor Kelly?
Yes.
Counselor Dowdle?
Yes.
Counselor Ansel?
Yes.
Counselor Casper?
Yes.
Counselor Kretzel?
Yes.
Kretzer?
Yes.
Pretzel.
Kensel, Pretzel.
One of us be
It's
called.
going to be either tomorrow
Why didn't you say
or
pretzel?
early next week, but that's to give you the details. I was like meeting with the engineers.
What's the scope of that? Update on what's going on, or?
You know,